The prophet's dream that foretold the conquest of Makkah. Have you ever had a dream so vivid, so powerful that it felt more real than reality itself? What if I told you that a single dream, the dream of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, foretold one of the most momentous events in Islamic history? A dream that revealed the future. A dream that promised the return of the Muslims to the sacred city of Makkah, not as refugees, not as outcasts, but as victorious believers. This is the incredible story of how the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, saw a vision that would eventually lead to the peaceful conquest of Makkah. A journey that would test the faith of the believers, challenge their patience, and ultimately prove the divine truth of Islam. But what exactly did the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, see in his dream? And how did this dream unfold into reality? Stay with us till the end as we uncover the miraculous journey from a prophetic vision to one of the greatest victories in Islamic history. The prophetic dream, a glimpse into the future. One night in Medina, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, saw a dream. In this vision, he and his companions were entering Makkah, peacefully performing tawaf around the Kaaba, shaving their heads and cutting their hair as part of the rites of Umrah. It was a dream full of hope, a vision of return to the sacred city from which they had been forced into exile. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was overjoyed. The next morning, he gathered his companions and shared this divine vision with them. The Muslims, who had longed to return to Makkah, felt an overwhelming sense of excitement. After years of persecution and struggle, could it finally be time for them to return? Allah confirmed the truth of this dream in the Quran. Indeed, Allah has fulfilled his messenger's vision in truth. You will surely enter al-Mash'ar al-Haram, if Allah wills, in security, with your heads shaved and hair shortened, not fearing anyone. But he knew what you did not know, and he has arranged before that a conquest near at hand. Surah Al-Fath 48:27. With this divine confirmation, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, prepared for the journey. He and 1,400 of his companions set out from Medina with the sole intention of performing Umrah, carrying no weapons except their sheathed swords, as was customary for travelers. But what the Muslims did not know was that this journey would not be as simple as they had hoped. The Quraysh, still bitter from their losses in previous battles, had no intention of allowing the Muslims to enter Makkah. The road to Hudaybiyyah, a test of faith. As the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his companions approached Makkah, they camped at a place called Hudaybiyyah, just outside the city. It was here that they received troubling news. The Quraysh had mobilized their forces to stop them from entering. This was a critical moment. The Muslims had come in peace, but the Quraysh were preparing for war. What would happen next? Would the Muslims be forced into battle, or would they find another way? The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, always a man of wisdom and patience, decided to send a messenger to the Quraysh to negotiate. He chose Uthman ibn Affan, may Allah be pleased with him, for this task, as he was respected among the Quraysh. Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, entered Makkah and spoke to the leaders, but they refused to allow the Muslims to perform Umrah that year. Worse still, rumors spread that Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, had been killed. When this news reached the Muslims at Hudaybiyyah, they were outraged. They had come in peace, yet the Quraysh had responded with aggression. In response, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, called his companions to take an oath of allegiance under a tree, pledging to stand firm in their faith and, if necessary, fight for justice. This became known as the Pledge of Ridwan, and Allah mentioned it in the Quran. Certainly was Allah pleased with the believers when they pledged allegiance to you, O Muhammad, under the tree, and he knew what was in their hearts. So he sent down tranquility upon them and rewarded them with an imminent conquest. But before any battle could take place, new information arrived. Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, was alive. Negotiations resumed, and soon after, a treaty was formed, the Treaty of Hudaybiyyah. The Treaty of Hudaybiyyah, a victory in disguise. The treaty had several conditions, many of which seemed unfavorable to the Muslims at first. Among them were, the Muslims would return to Medina without performing Umrah that year. They could return the following year, but stay in Makkah for only 3 days. Any Muslim who fled from Makkah to Medina must be returned to the Quraysh, but any Muslim who left Medina for Makkah would not be returned. Some of the companions were disheartened. Why agree to such unfair terms? Was this truly a victory? The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, reassured them that this treaty was, in fact, a great triumph. Allah then revealed, "Indeed, we have given you a clear conquest." Surah Al-Fath 48:1. Though it was difficult to see at the time, the treaty paved the way for Islam's rapid spread. Over the next 2 years, more people embraced Islam than ever before. But what about the dream? The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had seen a vision of performing Umrah in Makkah, yet they were returning to Medina without doing so. Was the dream unfulfilled? Had something gone wrong? Little did they know, Allah's plan was unfolding exactly as intended. The dream was not for that year, but for the near future. And that future was coming sooner than they expected. The breaking of the treaty and the march to Makkah. The peace of the treaty did not last long. The Quraysh, in their arrogance, violated its terms by attacking a tribe allied with the Muslims. This was a clear breach of the agreement, and it gave the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the right to take action. But instead of war, he planned something even greater, a peaceful takeover of Makkah. With an army of 10,000 believers, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, marched toward Makkah. Unlike previous battles, there was no intention of bloodshed. The goal was to liberate the sacred city without war. When the Muslims entered Makkah, the Quraysh were taken by surprise. They knew they could not fight such a large force. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in his unmatched mercy declared, "Whoever enters the house of Abu Sufyan is safe. Whoever stays in their home and locks their door is safe. Whoever enters the masjid is safe." Musnad Ahmad, 1969. And with that, the conquest of Makkah was complete. The dream of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had come true. He and his companions entered the Kaaba, performed tawaf, and purified the sacred house of all idols. It was the ultimate victory, not through bloodshed, but through patience, faith, and divine destiny. The lesson for us? Allah's plans always come to pass, even when we do not understand them in the moment. Trust in Him, and victory will come. The cleansing of the Kaaba, the triumph of Tawheed. As the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, entered the sacred masjid, he stood before the Kaaba, his birthplace, the holiest site in Islam, the very house that had been built by Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, and his son Ismail, peace be upon him, for the worship of Allah alone. But over the years, the Quraysh had defiled it with idols. 360 idols stood around the Kaaba, worshipped by the people of Makkah. With a staff in his hand, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, pointed at the idols one by one, reciting the words of Allah, "Truth has come and falsehood has perished. Indeed, falsehood is bound to perish." Surah Al-Isra 17:81. With each recitation, an idol fell, breaking into pieces. The very symbols of shirk polytheism that had stood for centuries were being destroyed before the eyes of the Quraysh. The Kaaba was then purified, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, entered its sacred chamber. Inside, he commanded that all images and idols be removed. Only the worship of Allah alone would remain. It was a moment of ultimate triumph, not just a military victory, but a spiritual one. The dream that had once seemed distant had now become a reality. The sacred city of Makkah was finally returned to its rightful purpose, the worship of the one true God. The general amnesty. Unmatched mercy. After years of persecution, after being driven out of their homes, after suffering through battles and hardships, the Muslims now had complete control over Makkah. The Quraysh, the very people who had fought against Islam for so long, now stood powerless before the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Many of them feared what would happen next. Would they be punished? Would they face retribution for their past crimes? But the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not like the tyrants of the past. He did not come for revenge. He came for guidance and mercy. Standing before the people of Makkah, he asked them, "O people of Quraysh, what do you think I will do with you today?" Trembling, they responded, "You are a noble brother and the son of a noble brother." The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, then spoke the historic words, "I say to you what Yusuf, peace be upon him, said to his brothers, no blame will there be upon you today. May Allah forgive you, and He is the most merciful of the merciful." Surah Yusuf. Go, for you are free. Go, for you are free. This moment stunned the people of Makkah. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had the power to punish them, yet he chose to forgive. His mercy and justice softened even the hardest of hearts. Many of the Quraysh, who had been staunch enemies of Islam, embraced the faith that day. Among them was Abu Sufyan, one of the strongest opponents of Islam, who declared his belief in the oneness of Allah and the prophethood of Muhammad, peace be upon him. Bilal's call to prayer, a symbol of justice. One of the most powerful moments of the conquest was when Bilal ibn Rabah, may Allah be pleased with him, the former slave who had once been tortured for proclaiming the oneness of Allah, was given a special honor. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, commanded him to climb to the top of the Kaaba and call the adhan, the call to prayer. As his voice echoed across Makkah, the message of Islam was made clear. No race, no tribe, no social status determined a person's worth. The only thing that mattered was taqwa, consciousness of Allah. The conquest of Makkah was not just about reclaiming a city. It was about establishing justice, mercy, and the pure worship of Allah alone. The lessons of the conquest of Makkah. The incredible journey from the prophetic dream to the actual conquest of Makkah holds deep lessons for every Muslim. Here are some of the most important ones. 1. Allah's plans always prevail. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had seen a dream that he and his companions would enter Makkah in peace. Even when it seemed delayed, it came true exactly as Allah had willed. This teaches us patience and trust in Allah's divine plan. Victory comes through patience and faith. The Muslims did not take Makkah by force. They waited, endured hardship, and remained steadfast. In the end, victory came in a way they could never have imagined. 3. Forgiveness is greater than revenge. Despite having every right to punish the Quraysh, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, chose forgiveness. This is a lesson for all of us. Mercy and compassion always win hearts. True power belongs to Allah alone. Makkah had been the stronghold of idol worship for centuries, but with a single decree from Allah, it was purified in a moment. This shows us that no matter how powerful falsehood seems, it will always perish before the truth. Islam is a religion of justice. The call to prayer being given by Bilal, may Allah be pleased with him, a former slave on top of the Kaaba, showed the world that Islam upholds justice and equality. No one is superior except by righteousness. Conclusion, the fulfillment of the dream. The dream of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not just about performing Umrah. It was a message from Allah, a promise of victory, a lesson in patience, and a demonstration of divine power. From Hudaybiyyah to the walls of Makkah, the Muslims learned that faith in Allah always leads to success. Even when things seem difficult, even when the path is unclear, Allah's plan is always unfolding in ways we cannot yet see. For every believer today, the conquest of Makkah is a reminder that no hardship lasts forever. With faith, patience, and trust in Allah, every trial leads to triumph. May Allah grant us the strength to follow the example of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to uphold justice, to practice patience, and to always trust in his divine plan. If you found this story inspiring, leave a comment below saying, "With hardship comes ease." Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an incredible Islamic story. May Allah bless us all with steadfastness, wisdom, and success in this life and the hereafter. Ameen. Jazakumullahu khairan for watching, and see you in the next video.